For more on tech's outlook and what to expect from Apple's iPhone event next week, T.Rowe Price's Tony Wang joins us now on set. He manages the firm's science and tech fund, whose top holdings include Nvidia, Apple, and Broadcom. Tony, great to have you with us. Welcome to the NASDAQ market site. In terms of the action that we saw today, maybe not surprising that we saw AVGO go up so sharply, hitting a new high, actually, in today's session. But in terms of the market capitalization transfer from Nvidia to Broadcom, or what looked like to be a transfer from Nvidia to Broadcom, what do you make of it? Should we draw out a bigger story based on this?
Yeah, I think, the price action makes sense, I think, in the near term. Essentially, Broadcom is expanding its customer list. I think a few years ago, only Google was the custom player, and then now they're going to 4 players and with OpenAI. And so I think that naturally they're coming off of a smaller base, they're growing, they're accelerating. I think that makes sense. But if you take a look at the longer term picture, I do think the TAM is expanding. Essentially, we're moving from one-shot kind of ChatGPT models to now long reasoning. And so it takes longer, it takes more compute, but you have better answers. And so I think overall that's like very TAM expansionary. If you look, we've had this debate, right? Like over the last 5-10 years, and both stocks have done really well as leaders in the market. Okay, so the TAM expanding, meaning the total addressable market expanding.
Yes.
Lifts all boats, lifts Nvidia and Broadcom only. I mean, how should we look at that? Is the TAM expanding specifically for Broadcom? Yeah, I think it is lifting like a lot of boats, I would say. But increasingly, the compute is getting harder to do. And so it really plays to the number one in GPUs, and I think the number one in overall like custom ASICs. And so those are the two players, I think, that benefit from the scale and R&D and the flywheel that goes with it.
So that's, Tony, great to have you here. And let's drill deeper into this whole idea of addressable market, because one of the things that I sense on a day like today is when we talk about Broadcom, we're talking about not just AI and deep learning, but we're talking about data center, we're talking about wireless, we're talking about this is a more diversified chip play, right? And after the kind of move that's been so AI centric on a day when people are starting to question at least some broader elements of the economy and the market, I'm not sure that we're supposed to do a whole lot more than just think about them on a payroll day. I don't think the world changed today. But is that the story? Is it that Broadcom really is broader? And will this give more sustainability to this relative value trade today that's not really relative value?
Yeah, so I think that Broadcom has a lot of different businesses. They're very broad-based, and you're seeing the broad-based business also recover too. Meanwhile, AI is actually accelerating. So you have these two growth engines that are probably working in a good way over the next 12 months. But in terms of what's really breaking the stock out, I do think it's the AI number. I mean, Hawk over the years has been pretty he doesn't like to get you too excited about like semis all of a sudden growing. But like here, I mean, I think the growth is real. And so, with AI adding a leg of growth here. It does sound like, according to the analyst notes that I read, that he was very positive, very sort of guiding people higher. Have you talked to Hawk? Is that the message that you're getting even away from the earnings call? Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Hawk has been incrementally bullish, I would say, every quarter over the last couple of years. And usually Hawk tries to keep us, pretty tempered in our expectations. But I do think this is a change of tone just because it's become such a big market and they are so well positioned with custom. And on a day when we are seeing the markets cope with the possibility of a growth scare, how do you factor that in? How does that change your view of tech? Is the AI trade defensive, or will that be cut in a growth scare? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. Essentially, I think that, August and September are always seasonally kind of strange, and there's always a positioning, and I do think that positioning could have gone a little extreme in some pockets, but, I think that is just short-term noise. And if, the numbers continue to be good for AI, I think that people want to own that. These are like quality companies that are really compounding. And for the growth you're getting, it's actually not that expensive. I know a lot of people make comparisons with the tech bubble, but this is largely numbers driven if you look at it.
And then just in terms of semis versus tech overall, if you had to just, would you rather for the next 12 months, general tech or semiconductors? We know that semis' relative performance to the tech sector peaked in 1994, incredibly, right? They've been a very poor area of the market versus all tech, because tech has big winners in it, like Apple and Microsoft. If you had to make a one-year bet, semis, bet one, or tech X semis, bet two for the next 12 months, which would it be?
Yeah, I think we are still in the build-out phase for AI infrastructure, and semis essentially is the backbone of technology. And what's been amazing in semis is that Moore's law has been slowing. Especially before kind of 2012, semis were so easy to make. You got free performance, productivity, because you could shrink them really easily. And now it's like an inflating cost curve, and things are getting harder to make. And that's what. And meanwhile, performance demands are increasing. So I think that's a very attractive setup in the industry overall.